Yay. Okay. We're trying right now to plan for expanded classes, some face-to-face classes, especially something like human figure study and sculpture. So if you are able to take a sculpture class, if you're an art major, this is particularly for art majors, but it is also open to the general student population. We're going to have a reduced number of students in the sculpture class, but it would be meeting face-to-face. So instead of 18 as my class capacity, we're going to limit it to 10 people so that we can do social distancing. Everybody will have to be masked, but we would be sculpting the human figure, and the model working for the class, or the models working for the class, depending on if I get more than one person to come in here and do the duty. The models would also be wearing a mask too. So even if they're posing nude for the class for human figure study, they will be masked up. Everybody must wear a mask. That's how our brave new world works in a time of COVID. And so we're going to be trying to make better opportunities for you for classes for winter quarter as we can respond to the changing challenges of the pandemic. Having said all that, I've killed 5 minutes, which was a good thing. A bunch of people have arrived for the class, so let's take a quick attendance and we'll get to it. Morning section. Autumn is here. So right there is where Autumn is. Katrina is here, and welcome. Daniela is here, or Danielle, excuse me. I'll get that one of these. No, I won't. I probably won't. Ethan's here. Kelsey is here, Hebert, and no, it's Ethan, Kelsey, Kiera is here, and Riley, Kullick, and Skylar. Okay, so far I got 8 people have joined us in the classroom. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, who did I miss? I've already missed somebody. Skylar, Riley, Kira, Kelsey, Ethan, Danielle, Kaprina, Autumn. Oh, okay, there we go. Okay. All right, I have a list of things I wanted to talk about today and try to cover. And so I'd like to do a midterm quiz on Friday. So I have never done an online quiz before. I'm setting it up in our coursework section of e-learning. There is a provision for giving tests in e-learning. Many of you have probably taken a quiz or a test in e-learning before, and so I'm trying to set it up with the proper provisions. So I'm going to open this thing at 9 o'clock in the morning for you guys to take. I'm going to close it at 5 o'clock in the afternoon on Friday, so you can only take the quiz on Friday. You can only take it once. And so I'm trying to figure out how to upload the quiz and whether it's going to be in the e-learning platform or whether it's going to be my Word document that you're going to be taking the quiz on. But anyway, when you're done with the quiz, hopefully you'll be able to upload it back to me so that I can correct and grade the quizzes. It's a 20-question multiple choice quiz on Friday, and so it's going to be worth 20 points. So it's the equivalent of 2 of these kinds of projects that are kind of smaller, 1 week long projects. The current drawing that we're on is also a 20-point project, so it's going to be worth as much as a bigger project like this drawing that we're doing. Okay, enough about that. Midterm, attendance, cross contour line drawing. So if you were with us last time, I did a demonstration on how to do a still life. I'm asking you guys to set up a still life. I'm asking you guys to draw your own still life in your home or dorm room or bedroom or something like that. And if I minimize all this stuff for just a minute so that we can see stuff, I set us up yesterday to be at my eye level. And so right next to me, we are drawing cheek to cheek on this project. And so we were trying to draw the objects in a still life. What I've done is I've set up some boxes to give me multiple layers and multiple objects that are quite large and yet simple to work with as a still life. And then I've thrown some smaller objects in there that are more interesting and different because they are cylinders or based on circular forms and that kind of thing. And so I've got a bowl leaning up against a box. I've got a bowl sitting on top of a box surface. I've got a cylinder laying on a box, and it's kind of cantilevered out into space, so it's kind of hanging out in front. I've got a coffee cup sitting right behind the cylinder. Oh my God, so that's a problem. I've got another cylinder up here and a coffee cup sitting in front of a cylinder. So I've tried to give you guys a variety of different things to be able to look at so that it's a still life that has some simple objects in it to draw, and yet there's enough visual interest in this thing that that's interesting and artistic, and it's worthy, you know, of you guys drawing it. I would like you to set up something similar in your home or in your dorm room. So if you can find 3 boxes, 3 medium to small size boxes that you can use, and set some of them up vertically and some of them laying horizontally. But if most of them can be at some kind of a jaunty angle to the viewer so that they present an edge to the viewer, an angle to the viewer that it's closest to the viewer with sides that move away from the viewer like the bow of a ship, then it makes a much more interesting thing. And we learned all about trying to look at the angles that those edges present to us, trying to actually visually measure those angles with a pen or a ruler or something that you can hold up into space so that you can see that it's not a horizontal line, but it's a line that has an angle on it, and then trying to transfer that angle onto your piece of paper. I did this as a demonstration at length on Monday, and now I've put up the video so that under our Zoom videos recordings, you can see this thing now. And so I don't need to redo that again. What I need to do now is take us to the next step, the next level in all of this. So I am clearing the deck right here on my desktop so that I can demonstrate the next piece of this. So I'm going to change to that thing. I'm going to grab the drawing that we started last time so that we've got something to look at. And I'm going to turn back on my participants list just to see if anybody's got their mic open or their hand up, the little blue hand. And I'm going to look at the chat box just to see if anybody's writing in the chat box. So if you have a question along the way, don't hesitate to interrupt me and ask it out loud, or to write it in the chat box if you'd rather write it in the chat box. Anyway, drawing the still life is the first part of this project, but it's not the end of the project. Now that you have a still life drawing done, I want to apply cross contour lines to it to give character to all of the different surfaces that I'm dealing with. So flat surfaces, I'd like to do cross contour lines that somehow can give me a sense of what that surface is. And I might, I might do cross contour lines that are parallel to an edge of one of the surfaces of the box, so that I've got lines that are going across the contour of the box. They're describing the contour of that box. If that contour is a flat surface, those lines should maybe be straight so that they are sitting on a flat surface and describing perhaps a flat surface. And then we get into the issues of linear perspective. If a surface is moving away from me, would the lines start to get closer together? And technically they might even do that, so that if I'm trying to show a three-dimensional object in linear perspective that's moving away from me, the spacing of these first two sets of lines here is it's larger, and then as we are moving back in space in linear perspective, these things, doggone it, will you stop doing that? Oh, you're driving me nuts. Really? Okay, What do you need to focus on so that you'll stop doing that? Come on, man. Give us all a break. I can't believe this. Let me put something like that here. Is that going to help? Oh, how about this? Is that going to help? That there. Finally, I've got enough detail for the camera to focus on so that it's going to stop doing that. Okay, so anyway, these are cross contour lines, and they're even doing a thing that is about linear perspective. You don't have to worry about all that. This project is not about drawing linear perspective. The project isn't really even about trying to learn how to draw a still life with a certain amount of skill or forms and shapes in proportion to each other, although that would be helpful. I mean, this is a very much a beginning level project for freshmen who are either art majors or who are not, who are general education students. So all we're trying to do is cover these objects with cross contour lines so that we can just explore what line can do in a composition. So this side of this box was covered with lines, and I just chose arbitrarily to take them on a vertical and make them all vertical lines. I want to do something different on this side of the box. So I'm going to probably follow a different kind of line concept and make these lines parallel to this line and parallel to this line up here. And so as we kind of come across the composition, now I also have to kind of think about what's happening in my compositional space. And one of the things I'm interested in is variety in the composition. How can I make these things have some kind of variety in the composition? And I can change the idea of variety of line by choosing different spacings of line, choosing different weights of line, and all of that kind of stuff. So sometimes my lines might be really close together. Sometimes my lines might be further apart. Sometimes my lines might have a rhythmic quality to them. So they might be two lines close together, then a space, then two lines close together, and then a space. And so that way we're going to have cross contour lines, but they won't all be the same line on every single surface. And that way it might be just a little bit possibly more interesting. I've got a little teeny tiny slice of surface that is sort of available to me as the top surface on this box. And so I thought I might just put some cross contour lines in that little teeny tiny sliver of box to look at over there. When I look at something like the cylinder, the lines really want to follow the contours of a cylinder, which are curved. We have, stop that. We have contours both on the inside surface of the cylinder and the outside surface of the cylinder. And so the inside contours would be parallel to this idea of the ellipse, that is the elliptical shape that the outside of the cylinder might present to the viewer. And so I might just want to take a bunch of lines that are parallel to this outside edge here and just try to make the interior of the cylinder go that way so that, so that the interior of the cylinder, looks like it is, the cross contour lines are following a curved surface on the inside of the cylinder. On the outside of the cylinder, we're going to go the other way and run our lines so that they are parallel to this outer edge of the ellipse that defines the end of the cylinder form. And so we're just going to run these kind of parallel to that down the length of the cylinder. Maybe as the cylinder goes away from us in space, again, linear perspective, these lines might start to maybe get a little closer to each other. And that kind of shows that it's receding in space and getting further away from our eye. It's not necessarily an important thing, but you can kind of see that we get a sense of the spatial relationship of the cylinder with the front of it advancing towards the viewer and the rear of the cylinder receding away from the viewer in space. And so now we've got a consistent thing happening spatially with this cylinder receding into space that way, and this box is receding into space that way. And these lines, stop doing that. Really, come on, will you please? What is it with this thing? My fat, chubby fingers are the only thing that will stop this webcam from pulsating. It's really having some problems here. Come on, webcam, do your stuff. Come on, really, man? All right, so what I'm trying to do is vary the cross contour lines on each surface of each object so that it's going to be different, it's going to be interesting. What do you do when you've got a problem like Maria, or in this case, a bowl form? How can I show the interior hemispherical curve of the bowl? Well, that's a really interesting concept. We can do this a number of ways. We might, on a bowl, want to, kind of follow the elliptical feeling of the bowl, but also they're going to get smaller. And because the bowl is getting smaller and smaller itself as a hemisphere, getting tinier and tinier in towards its center, we might do something like that to show that the bowl form is curving as it moves in towards the center of the bowl form. Some people also like to, on the outsides of the bowl, maybe run the contour lines a different way, and so starting off as curving as possible, but straightening out just a little bit from the outside contour of the bowl, and then coming through the equator of the bowl fairly straight, and then as we're going up into the northern hemisphere of the bowl, once again following a contour that becomes increasingly curving. And so then you get cross contour lines that are following the curves and the changes in the curve of a bowl form, so that it starts to really give us a three-dimensional sense of that bowl in space. So that would be for this bowl that is leaning up against this object here. I would probably treat this bowl form in a similar way. I might, try to do cross contour lines that kind of come around and describe this elliptical form that has been originally created by the outside edge of the bowl, and perhaps trying to follow the changes in the bowl as it presents itself directly, front ways to the viewer, and then slowly wrapping the form back around the bowl as it goes this way. And so, and as the form wraps away from the viewer, these lines might even start to get closer together. And so we get a sense of the three-dimensionality of the bowl that way. That's what I'm going to be asking you guys to do in this. Drawing the still life is just part one of the project. And so this is a 20-point project because you have to set up and draw a still life. That's 10 points. Then I want you to complete the drawing as a cross contour line drawing, and that's another 10 points. And so trying to get your contours to really describe what's going on the surfaces of your objects is what cross contour lines are all about. And so we've got this going on this surface of this box, and then we're probably going to run since I'm going to want to describe the quality of this cylinder going this way to make sure that the viewer knows that this is going to be a cylindrical form here. I might, on this surface of the box that's directly behind it, do something different to make sure that this is a contour that's going this direction, which is different than this object that's in front of it, that has this contour line quality to it that describes the form of the cylinder in this way. So since I wanted this form to be in contrast to this form, and I wanted this form to be round, I really had to run my curving lines parallel to the end of this cylinder here to really make this cylinder start to stand out a little bit. I could even make this stand out just a little bit more. I could run a secondary set of lines kind of coming around this side where we might understand there to be a shadow on that side of the form, and I might even do two because I'm just crazy that way. Those are cross contour lines, and they also tend to participate in the directionality of the cross contour lines, and they start to suggest the idea of a shadow. And if we started to do that in certain areas of the composition, we would really start to suggest both three-dimensionality to the round objects and also a sense of a cast shadow line on the bottom edge of a round object. And since light is always kind of coming down from above, where we're either putting lights in the ceiling or we've got the sun up in the sky or something like that, usually we get cast shadows on under surfaces, whereas you might get illumination happening on top surfaces of things. And so I ran just a couple more, I don't know if they're very successful or not, secondary lines on the interior of this cylinder to try to also get a sense of a cast shadow up inside that cylinder to kind of go along with this cast shadow sense of cross contour lines on the bottom, on the underside surface of the cylinder too. So anyway, we're playing this game. So we would, try to treat the other objects that have not been yet done with cross contour lines the same or similar way. I'm looking up to see if you guys have gotten any questions yet. Not yet, and so I'm going to really go crazy. I'm going to grab my Sharpie, because what can you do with a Sharpie? Oh my God, well, of course, we found out the other day that the Sharpie can give us a thicker line. And so we can really use thick lines in the composition to give us more variety of line. If you happen to have a Sharpie, it's like, if you smoke, if you got them, smoke them. God, no, don't smoke. Anyway, or, we could even go super bold with a Sharpie and start to, color in stripes instead of just lines. And so our cross contour lines can be super bold too, as they're running across one surface of the composition, so that we've got thin cross contour lines in certain parts of the composition and super thick cross contour lines, and maybe even, patterns of cross contour lines that are alternating thick and thin in the composition. All I'm trying to do is show the possibility that there might be a huge range of ability of cross contour lines that you guys can put into a composition. And so that it'll give us all kinds of different variety to look at in a composition. And I'm going to try to taper these lines out as they go back in space a little bit here. Okay, so cross contour lines in a cross contour line drawing. This is probably going to take you, stop it. This is going to take you yet another hour at least to just populate your line drawing with cross contour lines once you get that. Will you stop it? Once you get the line drawing, the still life established. So I really wanted to break this into 2 days and two different kinds of projects. The first one was to just construct a still life and then try to draw that still life, and that'll take you a good hour, maybe 2 hours of lab time just to draw the still life. The secondary part is to come back in and then populate or color in the drawing just with cross contour lines to give us a sense of design, using line, once again, in kind of a rhythmic way to describe surfaces and to kind of fill in and decorate and do all those other kinds of wonderful things in design that would take this from just being a drawing that, stop it, you're driving me nuts. That would just be a drawing that's attempting to record what you see and taking it to the next level of something creative, something that's a creative project that isn't just about the basic idea of rendering a drawing, but it's taking that drawing to the next level of creativity where you're going to apply your own lines to it. You're going to apply your own designs or patterns on this thing based on just cross contour lines, so that it becomes definitely, you know, your project, your drawing, your unique individual expression as a work of art or as a design. And that's a big thing for us to play with in art classes and design classes, trying to take it to the next level to make it your own. Gosh, really? This thing just pulsates over and over again. It's just terrible. Okay, so I'm going to put my stupid hand there. I want to open this up for questions because, once again, I've talked for half an hour. You guys have been very patient and watched my silliness as I got going here. But as long as I might try to just get a couple more lines going on in here to maybe get us to the next level with this thing as a drawing. And maybe if I get enough detail in here, it'll stop pulsating. God, I am really sorry. I don't know why it can't focus on the detail of this drawing, because it's supposed to. So I'm going to put a line there, and then I'm going to put two more thin lines with it to really get a sense of something interesting and different happening on that surface of the box instead of what's happening on surfaces of other boxes in the composition. Oh my God. All right, will that stop it? Will this stop it? It's unbelievable, man. All right. So I think I'm going to leave the desktop for a minute, and I'm going to go back to my face, because whatever you think of my face, it at least does not pulsate, and the webcam can actually somehow focus on me. It must be the grizzly beard. It must be the webcam. I think I'm going to flip webcams to see if I get better webcam behavior before I ever try to do this again. Are there any questions or comments about this? I have really taken you guys out on a strange, journey, because you have now had to actually draw something. And so that is really scary for half of you who have never drawn before. And for the rest of you who have drawn before, who are visual arts people and possibly design or visual arts majors, this is where you wanted to go, because this is what it's all about, baby. This is exercising your craft, your talent, and your creativity so that you can do fun stuff. So we're going to drag everybody along kicking and screaming doing this project. And no matter whether this is the first drawing you've ever done, or if you are a very accomplished draftsman and drawer, this should be okay for you. There's a couple of things on the quiz that I wanted to make sure that you got right, or at least that didn't blindside you completely. There's going to be a question on the quiz about the definition of abstraction as it's dealt with in chapter 1. And I really want you guys to know what abstraction is, because this is the basis of art history. This is the basis of art appreciation. And so whether you are a design and visual arts major or not, understanding the idea of abstraction is really important. So your authors define abstraction as the simplification or slight rearrangement of objects in a composition. And that's all it is. It's just simplifying the objects, or rearranging them slightly in a composition to suit the artistic needs. But basically, simplification and slight rearrangement are the two things that I'm going to be looking for definition of abstraction. I can't remember what the other one is. Abstraction and anyway, they were kind of like the big concepts from chapter 1 that I wanted to make sure that didn't blindside you guys just totally and completely. So this is a check. This is a check and a balance to see if you've read chapters 1 through 3 and have committed some of them to memory, not just the vocabulary words, although the vocabulary words are very important to us when we are talking about and critiquing artwork, so that we can talk intelligently about what we're talking about. But also, the concepts underlying those things. And so abstraction is kind of a big one, because it becomes a barrier to understanding art for those who are not art majors. And yet some of the concepts are so easy, like the simplification and rearrangement of elements in a composition, that once you understand it, then you're no longer intimidated by the patterns, the shapes, the lines that you're seeing in a composition that might be dealing a little bit more with abstraction than you are comfortable dealing with, or that you've seen up to this point. So it's a really good concept to have, in your tool belt of being able to see things in the world and recognize art in art galleries and museums. So please review chapters 1 through 3. The quiz is going to be on Friday on that. If there's time after the quiz, I may be able to answer more of your questions or deal with more of your issues that you might be having with this drawing. If anybody has a question or an issue, please actually take a photograph of your drawing and have it open on your desktop, so that we have something to share, so that I can look at it and try to help you. I can't help you unless I can see what the problem is or see where you're having the difficulty. And so even if the drawing is unfinished, please feel free to take a picture of it and have that picture open on your desktop as an open file, so that you can share it along with us. And then we can maybe kind of walk everybody through what would be helpful, how you can address some of your issues, and maybe tell you that the things that you're worried about, like this box doesn't really look like a box, maybe that's not as important as you think it is, because maybe your box isn't perfectly rendered three-dimensionally, but it might be simplified or have the elements in it slightly rearranged a little bit for artistic purposes. And otherwise, your poorly drawn box might be an abstraction of a box, and it might still be quite legitimate, in terms of being an artistic expression. And so I'd love to have that conversation if there's time on Friday. So please prepare for a quiz on Friday, and then if you want to share your drawings in process and or ask for help on your drawings, have an open file on your desktop available to share with us on Friday. Until then, I'm going to call it a day. I don't see anybody trying to unmute their mics and ask me a question. There's nothing in the group chat today, so I'm assuming that you guys are all loving it and are having a really good time with the project and with the class so far. We'll see. We'll check that on Friday to see if you're really loving it and having a good time. But for now, have a good rest of your week, and we will see you on Friday. And thank you very much for coming today. See you Friday.